troubles. And then we were talking, and he says, "Well, how would you like to work for me in the office?" Well, I didn't want that kind of work. So I said, "No, I want to do cookies." He said, "Well, we don't have anything now." So he says, "Why don't you take 2 weeks off?" Which I said, well, I felt it was very good, but I was waiting for him to say he'll give me a R&R to Japan, because where the hell am I going to do for 2 weeks in Korea? There's no place to go or do anything really.
Right.
So he called me back one time and asked me to do a job on a rock crusher, which I figured, well, I'll do it, but I didn't like it. He said, "Stay there, if you think you like it, you'll stay there." And I did it for a little bit. And the only thing, a truck would come and, there were a lot of stones in that area. And we built all the runways and everything there. And they would drop the stones on the belt and go into where they crush the rock and go onto another belt into a truck. So this one kid, he was from Kentucky or Tennessee. We were both PFCs. And he says, there's dirt, piling up a little bit alongside where they dropped off the belt. So he says, we got to clean it up. So he tells me to take a shovel and clean it. So I said, why don't we call the bulldozer guy over and he'll just run down and sweep it. And he says, no, I want you to do it. Well, he didn't know he had the wrong guy. And I told him where he could take the shovel and shove it and let him do it. So he says, if anybody didn't call it CO. And I gave him a few remarks about everything he said. And eventually he came back and he says, the CO will see me the next day. Well, I thought about it. And I said, well, I didn't get any direct, orders from an officer. And I don't feel like I had to do it. So I never went, and I never went back to work. And nobody ever bothered me because in my bunk, there was a tag. I was supposed to sleep in the mornings because I worked nights at that time. So things kept going. And I was thinking, gee, I could go home. They never miss me, but the only thing is when payday came, they would find out. Because if you didn't come for your money, something got to be wrong. Well, then the first sergeant called me. Now, my belief is, when the first sergeant calls, you stand tall. He's the man. And he called me in. He wanted to give me a job working in POL. So he said, why don't you go down for 2 weeks and help those guys.
What is POL?
That's petroleum, oil, and lubrication for our whole battalion. So I went down and I worked for 2 weeks. Well, there's two guys there was a black fella and this white fella. Well, they were always arguing, never fight, but when one would do something, the other would complain. Me, I could go away for 2 days, they wouldn't say a word. And so after 2 weeks, I told the white fella, I said, I'm not coming back anymore. He said, why not? I said, first sergeant said 2 weeks, you got your 2 weeks. So it happened, I was down in the orderly room there talking to him. And he came down and he's complaining that I won't come back and that. So the first sergeant says, well, what's the matter with you? Don't you know how he's going on R&R? Well, even I didn't know about it at the time. See, what happened, we were using all the planes there when they were fighting in French Indochina, the French, and he lost that one big battle there. And what happened there, we had all these planes, because that's how we used to go on R&R. So when I came back from R&R, he put me in there and he told me to take charge of it. And I was a corporal already. So, well, I went down and I said, well, he called for a sergeant first class, should be, the rank for that job. So I think at that time they did away with the buck sergeant. You went from corporal to staff. So I went down there, and they kept giving me the run around, and I kept bugging them, and well, they said everything's frozen, So finally they got this sergeant first class, and he was a hell of a guy, we went to one time to Seoul, so the speed limit's only 25 miles an hour. Well, I was doing about 40.